XRP is making major moves right now, and you need to know why. Because if you're holding XRP, this is one of those moments where you can feel something's actually shifting. Because XRP just ran up to $1.49, almost $1.50 today. It's the highest level it's traded at in weeks, and it's happening at the same time some very important pieces are starting to come together. Regulation is moving towards clarity. Institutions are actively building on the rails, and price is beginning to respond. So in this video, we're going to break down what that move is actually signaling and why this next week can be so important, and the days ahead could be defining stretch for XRP holders. So let's get into it. But before we do, a quick disclaimer: this is not financial advice. Please always do your own research. You owe that to yourself. Now, let's get started with what just happened. As of today, XRP pushed towards that $1.50 range. This solid trading volume has also been accompanied, marking it the highest price we've seen in weeks. Now, this level matters because it's acted as a ceiling multiple times. It's just been hitting its head over it, right? Every time it hits this ceiling, it kind of bounces back down. But price didn't just drift into this area. It definitely pressed into it today. And that usually tells you that buyers are stepping in with more confidence. What's interesting in this, though, is that we're not in this euphoric marketplace yet. Liquidity is still really selective right now. A lot of people are like, they're watching from the sidelines. They don't know, like, oh, should I be investing now? Should I be investing later? When should I be putting my money in? Like, everybody's kind of hesitant right now. And so that's important to see that, okay, there's some volume momentum coming back into this market. And that's exciting. And I think you should be excited about it too. So let's talk about kind of like what's been happening behind the scenes, maybe why is the price having a move today? Well, over the last 24 hours, updates around the Clarity Act show negotiations narrowing to just a few remaining issues, with the committee action expected soon. So what that actually means for XRP is that because this legislation would formally lock XRP as like a digital commodity, giving it like it's going to be giving it a clear regulatory lane in the US, right? Markets don't wait until laws are finalized to position. They react when the odds shift. And today's push towards $1.50 suggests that those odds are being repriced in real time. And this is how capital tends to move: gradually at first, then more decisively once clarity prices in. And so at the same time, price is moving, something important is happening even on the network itself. So XRPL validators have officially opened voting on native lending and single asset vaults, infrastructure that expands what the ledger can support. That's a big step because lending capabilities changes the conversation from can this move value to can this support real financial activity at scale. When a network reaches that point, these types of participants, it's attractive, right? It starts to change, right? And that's where longer term capital tends to move more comfortably. And I think that's where we are. I think that we're in this place where like we're so close to this clarity to and then it's this broader market, everything coming together. And it's going to be actually quite amazing what happens. And I hope that you guys don't miss out, because this week, the end of April, this can be really big. Now, April also, I've been saying this for a while, but April has been one of XRP's strongest moving months historically. So I think we're going to finish on a strong, high volume April, like green month. That's where I think we're going for the rest of this month. And imagine too, imagine this, okay? Just think about it for a second. You got all this political tension going on. Iran. What happens if the war ends with Iran at the end of the month? They've come to some deal. Everything's going back. The Strait of Hormuz is opened up. And at the same time, you have clarity for all these digital assets. That is going to be a massive catalyst that I don't think you can just ignore. If that happens, like, we're going to be seeing some major moves, some absolutely major inflows into this space. Like, everything's just going to open up. And also, Trump's been talking about zero taxes. Well, if we can get also visa payments. So visa payments coming down to like the interest rate to be like 10%, because right now, like, you know, all these banks and visa companies they're charging, these credit companies are charging absolutely crazy amounts of money, right? Sometimes up to even 32%. So it's like if he can get it to cap it to the 10% that he's talking about, man, that's going to be big. That's going to be there's more people have more money they can throw money at more things, right? So this is all connected though, right? Because like over the past month, we've seen consistent reporting that sanctioned nations are increasingly using blockchain-based systems to move capital outside of traditional financial networks. That's like it's not a small number either. Like we're talking about billions in volume. And that highlights something most people still underestimate is global payments are no longer just financial infrastructure, they're geopolitical leverage at this point. Like Swift isn't neutral, it's policy enforced, which means alternatives aren't just, innovation, they're strategic. They're strategic. Like payments are becoming very strategic. Geopolitical tension, sanctions, and trade pressures are forcing institutions and governments to rethink how value moves across borders. Every single time traditional systems become like harder to use, demand grows for rails that are fast, neutral, transparent, compliant, right? That's it. That's the important environment. That's the important environment XRP is designed to the issues is designed to solve, not like as some type of headline asset, but as a connective tissue in this whole fragmented financial world that we find ourselves in. And that relevance grows during these global like friction times. When global friction is increasing, you know, the the world is needing something to solve that issue. And I think XRP just does just that. And while debate continues in the West for clarity, Asia keeps building. Japan has integrated XRP into Rakuten's ecosystem, connecting it to tens of millions of users through spending and rewards. And Korea is actively piloting on-chain settlement, like infrastructures using Ripple rails inside a regulated financial system. Like that's not theoretical adoption, it's real world testing at scale. And historically, when infrastructure gets embedded first, usage follows, and price tends to reflect that. And it may reflect that a later point, but it's going to reflect it in a really big way. And of course, I want to address the obvious question is like, if all of this is still happening, then why hasn't XRP already gone vertical, right? Like, anybody ever wonder that? Like, where, we're constantly seeing a good news and what's happening, right? Well, markets don't markets don't move on news alone. Like markets move on liquidity, not just progress. Liquidity is still cautious right now, and capital is still quite selective, and risk appetite is still pretty measured. And that's exactly why XRP is holding structure. It's pushing towards that buck 50, trying to stand out, get out of there. But like it's not like this isn't like exhaustion. This is compression that's building, like pressure's building beneath right now. And those phases are often where positioning happens. Positioning happens before momentum becomes very obvious. Once it's obvious to everybody that like these things are exploding, like that's gonna be too late, guys. Sorry, that's too late. You don't you don't want to you got to get in before it's obvious to the average Joe. But if you just connect the dots and you can start to see and build a picture for yourself of where this is going, then, well, let's go. Come on. We're going to start to see some actual major moves that can maybe change your life forever, right? That's what I'm hoping for. Hoping for a place where you can have generational wealth, where you can just, have a means to provide for your family and have a legacy for your family for generations to come. And I think that this asset class really has that. And you owe it to yourself to kind of start researching into these things of why could these assets really appreciate in such a massive way that a little bit now could end up being an insane amount later, right? Because I think if you just take a step back and look at today clearly, this is kind of what stands out. It's like XRP, yeah, it reached its highest level in weeks, while regulation, infrastructure, real world integration are all moving forward. all at the same time. And that combination doesn't really show up that often. And I think that's like a good point to make, is because when it does, it tends to reward patience and conviction. And if you're in that boat, like me, having some patience and conviction in what you're, where you put your money where your mouth is, right? If you actually believe this stuff, and you're investing in it, well, I think you're going to see a great reward. And that's just my 2 cents. But I would love to hear from you guys. Like with XRP pressing into that $1.50 zone, like where do you realistically see this going by the end of the month? And drop your comments below. If this gave you any confidence and clarity, please subscribe and turn on notification. I'm trying to be posting daily XRP updates for you guys. And if you want to go deeper and learn more about this, whole crypto landscape and everything that is involved, check out exponentialgroup.co. And there you can find places where we do digital asset holdings. And if that's something that you're looking for to set up an LLC, or in our exponential mastermind, you can grow deeper with some like-minded people. We got amazing people in there, so check it out. See what the community is all about. But for now, be blessed, stay positive, and I'm going to catch you guys in the next one.